All right. Well, I'm sure we'll have a few more folks just starting to trickle in, but we've got a lot to cover. So why don't we get started? Welcome to everyone joining us today. We are here to talk about product analytics versus marketing analytics and why you need both. Before I dive in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A function in your Zoom webinar panel. We'll be taking those questions at the end of the session. We are recording the session and we'll send it out within 24 hours. So you have it available to share around, access, and look back on. And lastly, if you do have any technical difficulties, you can message me in the chat feature, or you can also try the little caret icon next to your mute and audio button. And worst case, always can connect by phone. Okay, and with that, my name is Charlie Winchell. I am the EMEA marketing lead here at Mixpanel, and I'll be chairing the conversation today. So Mixpanel is a product analytics solution that allows brands to uncover deep product usage insights with our powerful self-serve analysis. Our 26,000 customers around the world use Mixpanel to build products and campaigns that better convert, engage, and retain their users. As the leader in event-based tracking, we're very passionate about helping brands innovate faster. And so we're very excited to bring you this conversation today, which seems to be a very hot topic in the world with many data-driven teams out there. So we've got a lot to cover. Again, we're going to be exploring some of the market changes that are driving the discussion around the need for making data-driven product and marketing decisions. And we'll explore some of the key tools as part of your data stack that are commonly misused, but equally important, marketing analytics and product analytics. But we'll, apart from just covering the differences, we'll also explain how you need both tools and why the approaches complement one another. And then last but not least, we're going to bring some of these ideas to life with our friends from StuDocu who are going to share their analytics story. Before we get any further, I want to just poll the room and ask who we have in our audience today. So you are going to see on your screen, let's see here, see a poll pop up. If you could just answer this, we'd love to get a sense of who's in the room with us today. So if you could let us know what's your primary job role, whether it's in your title or it's more of what you do on a day-to-day basis. Great, so it looks like we've got a lot of product people and marketing people here, as well as representation from a few others. Just leave this open for a few more seconds. I myself am in marketing. Got Killian and Glenn who will introduce themselves in just a moment. All right, and it looks like that's about 90%, a little bit over, of people in the room. So why don't we end this poll and see who we've got? Okay, so the folks that we've got in the room, not a big surprise, but we've got a nice representation from both the product side and the marketing side, two teams that also collaborate together often, as well as a smattering from the other functions you'll see on your screen. Great, thank you everyone for that. And why don't we go ahead and introduce our wonderful speakers. So we've got Glenn joining us from Human 37, one of Mixpanel's key solution partners, and Killian from StuDocu, one of our favorite customers. I'm going to pass it over to Glenn, who I'd love to have kick us off with introductions, and then Killian. So Glenn, over to you. Great, and you're on mute, Glenn.
Classic. So you should be able to see my screen by now, if all goes well, right? Okay, cool. So good morning, or yeah, for the people in Cape Town, I'm not sure what time you're on, or the people in the other sides of the world, but in my case, good morning, good early noon, let's call it like that. I'm Glenn, I'm the co-founder of Human 37. We are a customer data strategy agency, and we help organizations turn data into customer experiences. As you can see, our mission is to build a world where people get the best experiences from brands. And we do that by helping organizations define, design, and implement their marketing technology stack, help you elevate the customer experiences you have through the technologies that you've just implemented. And then last but not least, enable you to operate this independently. It's in this context that we are a Mixpanel Gold partner, because as you are aware, and there's over 50% or almost 50% of people that I saw that are in the product sphere, product analytics or good experiences start with good product insights, and that's where Mixpanel actually come in. Killian, I'll let you introduce StuDocu and what you do there.
Yep. Thank you, Glenn. I'm super happy to be here. I've worked at StuDocu for more than 4 years now, and we build a platform for students to exchange documents so they can excel in life and in their study. We have over 4 million documents, more than 12 million users. We cover more than 11,000 universities. So we do have a lot of traffic, and we've used Mixpanel for many, many years. And you'll see how it's still helping us making a better platform.
Thanks for that, Killian. So the topic of today is marketing analytics versus product analytics, and the fact that there's a huge a tendency from both spheres, and then a couple of other things. I've seen there are analysts, there are founders in the room. But what we want to start with is kind of give you a history of the confusion, right? Because the reason why you're most likely here is because you have questions on marketing analytics, or you have questions on product analytics, and you want to know more about what we look at the difference. So I want to start with a very short introduction on what I call the history of confusion on the topic. And I'll give you a heads up. There was already confusion yesterday. Confusion today is actually increasing, but our purpose is to get rid of the confusion as of tomorrow, at least for the people who have attended this, or for the people who are watching this recording later on as of your tomorrow. So a bit on my background to give you the context. The last 7 years I've been working in a marketing agency where the focus was very much on media. Obviously, we were doing a big chunk of marketing analytics there, and I'll explain you a bit later why. It means that I was very deep in products like Google Analytics, everything that is web analytics, everything that is tag management systems, data layers, all of the geeky stuff, let's call it like that. But most of the people I was engaging with at the time were actually marketeers. Now, every once in a while, I would get the question of somebody asking me, my point of contact, hey, Joe at IT deployed a new version of some page where a new feature was added or a button was swapped out, or we have a new form field that was generated. Could you add a couple of events through the GTM to ship it through GA or any other marketing platform, just to make sure that we capture what's going on and if it's working? Now, all of that makes absolute sense, right? Because what they're trying to do, or what Joe is doing in this case, is trying to understand if the changes that he made is driving impact. And a lot of the talk that Killian is going to show you, or a lot of the examples, are actually drilling down into how you can generate those insights. Now, the problem was that in the end, no one ever checked the results. And the reason why that actually happened was because IT was trying to implement product insights through our marketing analytics tools, which was causing a lot of problems. For one, Joe did not have access to the setup. Two, the marketing analytics solution was not providing the insights that Joe needed. And a couple of months later, usually we got the question from that same marketer, like, hey, Glenn, what is this event doing in our tag management setup? What is this data coming in GA? I don't know what it's for. Can you please delete it? And so that's a cycle that would happen again and again and again. So it indicates that from the very start, from those 7 years, there was already confusion between marketing analytics and product analytics. But there was also one thing that was very positive, and that was Joe, being the IT guy, implementing a new feature, was actually focusing on customer experience. And what he was trying to do was understanding how people are using the product that he is generating or creating, and how to improve that further through amendments. Now, whatever research you consult, be it what we call private research from the sector, media sector, technology sector, be it research from consulting companies like Accenture, McKinsey, or real research companies, be it academic research through universities, all of the research will indicate that customer experience is driving business. So the core of happy customers, of having a growing business, is actually customer experience. Now, that's something that Joe was doing very well. Now, I talked about kind of the confusion that I've been seeing for the last 7 years, but what we're seeing today is that the confusion is actually accelerating and exploding and going in all directions. And the reason for that is that something is happening in the marketing industry. If we're very honest, we know that a lot of companies are focusing very much on acquisition, on growth, on trying to get people onboarded on their product, on their service, on their platform. But very few companies, or let's say not enough companies, are trying to focus on driving the best experience once the customer or the user has been onboarded or on that platform. Now, what you see in the world of marketing is that marketing, or the way that marketing activities are being measured, is being put under pressure. meaning that acquisition as a whole, as an engine for growth, is being put under pressure. And the reason for that is the industry is changing, and privacy has a major influence on the reason or the way that is happening. Everybody knows GDPR. Some people in the US are familiar with CCPA. All over the world, these things are popping up. And the way you see them popping up is, in the first place, a couple of years ago, through consent management, through consent banners, meaning that while I was working in the marketing side of the business, we saw that audiences were decreasing drastically, meaning that the ability for marketers to remarket and to have a second chance of getting people onboarded on their product are actually decreasing. Then we saw that ITP was rolled out through WebKit and embedded in Safari, having a huge impact on how cookies were being dropped. Then Apple kind of rebranded as a privacy-centric company, iOS 14 being a major release for them, wreaking havoc in the entire marketing sector. And then we have the whole discussion on cookie apocalypse and the future of measurement in Chrome, for instance. So everything is going kind of all over the place, which forces companies to rethink how they are focusing on customer experience beyond simply acquiring users. Meaning that from our experience, what we see is we see a shift from marketing budgets to, or focus at least, marketing focus on acquisition to actually building better products and actually getting that customer experience at the center again. So the good news is that a lot of companies need to restart focusing on customer experience. They're trying to do that. They're rediscovering what it means to have the customer journey beyond acquisition and actually understanding retention. And it means that they kind of have to ditch the shortcuts that some companies were making. Now, if you say product analytics or product improvement, everything starts with measurement, right? And it means that a lot of companies need to start building the capacity of a product team, or the integration of insights into A/B testing into DevOps, which is something that Killian will show you and talk about very hands-on. The challenge there is, if your organization is mainly driven through marketing or acquisition, you're using a lot of marketing tools, right? The challenge is a lot of companies don't have any product tools, which means that they don't understand the difference between product analytics, marketing analytics. And it also means what they're trying to do is they know they need to have measurement at the core of their organization in order to improve customer experience, understand how people are using products such as their applications and their websites. The challenge is that they don't understand which type of technology that they need in order to get there. And so what do people do in that case? They go back to what they're familiar with. And who in the organization is already measuring? Well, that's the marketing teams. And what you see is that a lot of organizations trying to understand how products are being used in their organizations are trying to hack their way through marketing analytics tools in order to get that insights. And so a lot of more Joes are coming into the teams, and marketing people are getting a lot of more requests from IT people like Joe, asking them, how is my product being used? The challenge is that Joe is not getting the right data because the tool is not facilitating proper insight generation the way it should be done in his context. The result of that is something we call like Mad Max analytics or Frankenstein analytics. I'm a huge fan of these type of movies, so I love the analogy. But it basically means that we're trying to abuse a form of analytics, or we're trying to abuse a tool for a purpose it's not being built for. And so, yes, it's absolutely possible to try to embed event tracking in a tool like Universal Analytics through a TMS. But having that insights at scale and deploying that at scale and surfacing those insights to people like Joe is not going to work in the long term. So you're creating these weird setups that from time to time, some marketer will come back to you and ask, like, Glenn, what did you do to our TMS? Can you please clean all of that up? And so we're getting these weird constructions because they're simply not made for it. Now, what is my purpose and Killian's purpose today for you guys? First, confirm that yes, user experience is the core of what you should be focusing on going forward. And asset optimization, meaning website optimization, meaning app optimization, meaning whatever platform it is you're working on, optimizing that in the light of having a solid customer experience for your users is effectively what you should be focusing on. So if you're doing that, good work, you're already on the good track. Our job is to make sure that you understand what the difference is between product analytics tools and marketing analytics tools. So you know that for this job, you need a product analytics tool. Sorry. We need to clarify what marketing analytics should be used for, and absolutely as well what it should not be used for. And then clarify what product analytics is. And then Killian is going to take you for a spin through how StuDocu is using actually A/B testing in the context, or product analytics in the context of A/B testing, and how they're building better products, not only from an A/B testing point of view, but also from a retention point of view and how that is driving their product forward and their experience forward. I talked about marketing analytics as a first thing, told you that that's my background, where I came from. So it's very easy for me to share what I did when I was using marketing analytics. To give you the context, the company I was working on had a lot of business in the media field. So marketing analytics is a logical extension, simply because the role of marketing analytics is to understand where do users come from, and is it basically qualitative traffic that we're getting from these channels. It tries to provide a holistic overview of all marketing activities that is coming from a marketing team, and it allows to ensure or measure how successful specific channels or campaigns are. For the people who are familiar with specifically universal analytics, because that's the majority of the market today, you would be familiar with reports such as Source Medium, where we could see how Facebook campaigns are driving traffic, how Google AdWords or Google Ads is driving traffic, and what the result is based on a very simple KPI such as e-commerce conversion rates, or for more content-oriented websites or businesses, what is the time spent on a page, or how many pages did somebody see? Very, very soft KPIs, but an indicator of the quality of the channel we're using in order to direct users and people towards that page or that website. Now, why do you need marketing analytics? I think for the people in marketing, it's fairly self-explanatory. So I'll direct myself a bit more to the people in product who might not be familiar with it. It's basically to have simple and fast monitoring of your KPIs and your aggregate data. What marketing analytics is very handy in, or very helpful in, is to give you an insight on which channels are working well. Are we having an increase in visitors? Are people spending more time on my pages? And which content categories are working a bit better than which other categories? But that's kind of the deepest level of insights that you would get today, except for, are people converting? Are they signing up? Are they buying? Yes or no? It's typically used by traffic managers, marketers, e-commerce managers, or anything in that sphere. In general, the marketing field, because they want to determine the ROI of the money that they spent from media plans, from acquisition strategies, and cross-check that with how much is that traffic generating in terms of first-time acquisition business. Now, I've already mentioned Source Medium reports. There's a whole field of attribution, marketing attribution, where you could have discussions on, would it be last non-direct click? Would it be data-driven attribution? Would it be distributed or equally distributed attribution? Would it be first click attribution? And that's kind of the field where marketing analytics comes in. It tries to understand if your budgets are used effectively. What marketing analytics is not very strong in is to understand what our users actually doing at a very granular level once they hit that website barrier, once they are really engaging very deeply with the core components of your product, with the features, with the buttons, with all of the options that they have in order to make their way through the customer journey and find the info they need and do the action that brought them there to be done. It mainly focuses on the acquisition side of the business. Like I said, marketing sits at the very start of the customer journey, because their job is to figure out who are potential prospects, who are people who have a specific need, how can we reach out to them, how can we make ourselves findable and make sure that we help these people solve their problem that they're trying to solve by bringing them to our application, by bringing them to our website. That's a very specific thing to marketing analytics, and that's the core of what they are analyzing. Now, if we go back and we'll look at product analytics, the core of what product analytics is about is understanding how people are behaving, but also understanding how retention is being fostered, or how is it being facilitated. Why are people coming back? Why are they staying? And immediately product people think of cohorts, think of correlation analysis, think of the people who are here and who use Mixpanel already, use the signal module, understanding how is one action correlated to another. Now, this image for me is very key to understanding the difference, but also the complementarity. Marketing analytics sits, like I said, at the very beginning of the customer journey. Where are visitors coming from? What are they doing once they get here? Are they staying or are they leaving? Which channels are generating the best amount of traffic quality? What is the cost that is linked to a specific acquisition of a user? That's what traffic and acquisition is about. So that's what marketing analytics is about. This is typically operated by marketing people. Then you have engagement and retention, which is very much on the product analytics field, which is what Killian will explain you very much in detail and what his team is very deep involved in. but it's answering questions on what is drop-off happening at a very granular level, or comparing features. How is a feature contributing to stickiness? How is a feature contributing to people signing up? And which actions are actually indicative to people doing a major conversion milestone, or actually abandoning baskets or not completing that stage? That is what product analytics is about. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it's kind of the three major questions that product analytics as a whole are able to help you answer. What has happened inside my product and why is it happening? What should I do in terms of next step is kind of important, because it also means there's a bridge with CRO teams, so conversion rate optimization, A/B testing teams, but also then with product development teams, because all of these tests are actually hypotheses that are being validated. And if they work, so the last question, did it work? It actually determines the backlog or the roadmap for your product moving forward, which is what Killian's team is busy doing with. A very good summary for me, very visual on what the difference is between marketing analytics and product analytics. In the case of Uber, as an example, it would indicate marketing analytics would help you answer the question, what is my CPA, or my cost of acquisition, it's French, coût d'acquisition for Twitter, is the channel that brings me the lowest CPA. But it won't be able to answer you the question on what makes a loyal customer. And that's something that product analytics, and in this case, they use Mixpanel, is able to solve them. They know that if a user conducts or books 3 rides in the first 10 days, that the aha moment, like they call it in product, is being reached, and it converts a user from a prospecting customer, let's call it like that, to a loyal customer, meaning that customer lifetime value goes up the hockey stick curve as of that point, which means that we need to work on making it as easy as possible for people to book those first 3 rides, which again influences the product roadmap. For Indeed, it is understanding how people are booking their jobs. So at least one job application in the 4 days out of the first 5, which is something that is showing them who are their power users. That's a segment that they can create based on these actions. They're very granular. Where from an acquisition point of view, the maximum depth that we could get is, well, the average session time for a loyal customer is 8.2 minutes, but it doesn't indicate what they are doing and what we should work on in order to create more power users. How is Mixpanel and product analytics able to provide the insights that marketing analytics tool is not able to? Well, everything starts from the base of measurement. Mixpanel and product analytics in general are focusing on getting very granular insights based on events and properties, which allows everybody to slice and dice data from different dimensions, create segments, create cohorts based on all of these variables, which is a depth of measurement that is not facilitated in, for instance, universal analytics. On top, there's a very intuitive querying engine and dashboard that allows insights to be unlocked by everybody in the company. One of the elements that I like very much with product analytics, especially Mixpanel, what they do very well, is actually democratizing insights. There's a whole debate going on in the industry that everybody needs to be data literate and everybody needs to know SQL. It's good if you know SQL, but it's even better if the product that you're using kind of skips the step for everybody to become super technical, right? And so what this product is doing, it's basically having what we call a querying engine, almost in human language, allowing you to formulate a question and to surface insights, meaning that it can be used by a large number of people in your organization, meaning that a lot of businesses are focused on hiring very smart people, well, that all of these smart people can help in improving your product, improve your customer experience. And then last but not least, some of the questions are very hard to answer because they require a lot of calculations. Think of cohort analysis, think of modules like correlation analysis, which feature is very highly correlated with another one and which could be indicative to having an impact on the next one. So that would be the insights to hypothesize the next A/B test. All of these insights are very hard to surface because they require a lot of mathematics, a lot of data to be gathered. And Mixpanel is able to surface that very easily because they have been focusing on building specific reports for everybody to use so that those insights are surfaced very easily. Now, marketing analytics versus product analytics and how both approaches complement each other and why you need both. I think this image says it all, right? The first section of the customer journey will be very much focused on acquisition, ensuring that people or potential prospects and customers reach your website, reach your product. and that happens in a marketing efficient way, where the key term is return on investment, or ROI, meaning that how much do people in a first acquisition spend on our product, and what is the cost that it took us as an organization to bring them there, and optimizing that spend to foster growth. While product analytics is very much focused on the next stage of the customer journey, and that is the customer lifecycle within the product, within the website, and ensuring that engagement and retention goes up. And we do that by a different way of measurement and by visualizing different number of events and data points. Now, do you need both? I think it's fairly self-explanatory that I think yes. Why do we need both tools? As I said, you need both elements. You have both teams that each require their own tool set in order to focus on what they need to focus on and do best. It means that Joe needs a product analytics tool because he wants to understand how his A/B test is actually surfacing or influencing customer onboarding, conversion rates, but also how it is contributing to customer lifetime value and retention as a whole. While somebody from marketing simply needs to understand, well, I need to understand how people sign up, and how is this linked to my source medium, and how is this linked to my media plan, my marketing plan, and what's the most efficient ROI way of setting all of this up. One solution, I'm not convinced that one solution can replace the other, because they're very dedicated field. Otherwise, you would not have two teams running different operations, right? And every team deserves their own tool to focus very deeply in what they need to do best. And it also helps to get sustainable growth, because it means that we're focusing one side on acquisition of the users, but also on the other hand, we're focusing on making sure that the customers who have been acquired through marketing have an excellent experience. And that actually improves customer lifetime value, customer experience, and business growth as a whole. What are the effects on people and processes? A question that we get a lot when we have this discussion. I think the main important, or the most important one, is that we align on KPIs, right? If you talk to marketing people, I've been there, I've been one of them. The focus is very much on the campaign, on the short term, making sure that the CPA is under control, that the ROI is maximized, that we have a number of leads. But it's very rarely on the customer lifetime value as a whole, or how much or how happy are people in that product, and is retention secured, because a sign up is only one transaction. What we're looking for is actually building a decent product or an excellent customer experience, even to make sure that people think that you are the best in class for the problem that they are trying to solve. And every time you're trying to solve that problem, they know that you offer the best experience, so they keep coming back. The relationship with the development team is also something that is secured, I believe, through product analytics, which is very hard to do with marketing analytics. Even though you might be able to surface a fraction of the insights that you would do product analytics, it's very hard for marketing teams to influence the product roadmap. And if you have a product analytics tool, it means that you can actually pull in the product team to surface their own insights, to contribute to serving the insights, and to actually driving next iterations of the products, because they know how the customer is behaving. And so that means that you're actually recentering your entire organization based on what customers are doing. And last but not least, I think the most important thing is that we're having a complementarity between the capacities in the team, meaning that marketing starts working closely with product, that data analysts start working closely with marketing, with product, because of everything is centered around the single customer, and the objective of not only acquiring customers to achieve growth, but also making sure that these customers stay because of excellent products. And I think that that's gonna set everybody up for success, because it's gonna be interesting times from a marketing point of view already. And so I think that clarifying that there's a whole stack specifically dedicated to help people build better products, that's gonna help a lot of organizations. So that's it from my end. I'm gonna hand it over now to Killian, who will take the platform for a spin and show you a couple of actually hands-on examples, which are very cool, that he led at StuDocu.
Thank you, Glenn. Can you go to the next slide? I'm specifically going to talk about product analytics and not marketing analytics during that presentation. Just have 2 slides to give a bit of context, and before I dive deep into Mixpanel. So first, product analytics has to be a philosophy. So at StuDocu, it's been part of the culture since the very beginning. And what Glenn said is very correct. If you use the right tool, everybody can be involved, and it's super easy to use. And everybody can find their own usage, actually. You can have your discussions based on user data. You can iterate on your product very safely because you know how users are behaving on your platform. At StuDocu, actually, it's used by all teams. So product managers, they use it to know about the user behavior, to pinpoint the sub-performing funnels and improve the product. Customer service uses it to understand user issues, what this or that user went through and why they are contacting them. Developers are also using them, Mixpanel, to do some bug tracking sometimes, understand also why something is happening. And the marketing team is also using Mixpanel actually to be able to see how campaigns are performing down the funnel, and to be able to compare between organic traffic and Google traffic, for instance. What's very important when using a tool such as Mixpanel is to share information around tracking, so everybody's on board and everybody is able to use the tool. And actually, when you start using product analytics tool, you can you quickly realize that you can go beyond. So it helps with growth, with feature monitoring, with bug tracking, and also A/B testing. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I'm more specifically going to talk about A/B testing, and yeah, this is key at StuDocu. I kept the same 2 lines. It's really a philosophy, and it's part of the culture again since the very beginning. We roll out every single feature through A/B testing, and we can monitor them very, very easily in Mixpanel, and that's what I'm going to show you very soon. A few basic guidelines about A/B testing. You should define a clear tracking plan and share the conventions with your team, so everybody knows which events to use and how they are called. But again, in Mixpanel, it's made super easy because you have some tools with a dictionary of events. You can describe them. It's very convenient and very easy to use. And keep in mind that an A/B test never fails. It's always a learning, so you should never be afraid of running them. Just as a side note, we use a custom implementation at StuDocu. We don't use any websites such as Optimizely, and you'll quickly see why we decided to have a custom implementation. So now I'm going to take over and show you some use cases. So just for a bit of context, I told you StuDocu is a platform where students can share documents. So this is our viewer, and basically documents are put inside courses. In the past, this button was labeled follow, and we wanted to test the different copies. So from follow to add to my courses. And then on your dashboard, when you can find your courses, we change the copy from following to my courses. And even such a simple change, we want to A/B test because we want to see if it has any impact. And that's very easy to monitor in Mixpanel. So what we do at StuDocu is we track every view event, and we also track every user action. So I know that when users see a course, they're going to trigger the event course view. When they follow a course, they're going to trigger the event follow course. And then when they click on that course on the dashboard, they're going to trigger the event called dashboard clicked. Then in Mixpanel, you can track events yourself, but what's very powerful in Mixpanel is that they also are tracked events by default, like which browser is the user using, which OS they are using, which time zone they are in. So you can really dive deep into these things very quickly and automatically. So here I'm gonna say users who clicked on course, and I'm also gonna make sure that users followed the course manually because we have some algorithm running where we automatically follow courses for them. Then you have a few other things here, conversion criteria. So you can do the reports, for instance, for 1 day. So users who perform these 3 events within 1 day, or 30 days, or a session. It's up to you. In that case, I'm going to use 1 day, but you can customize it. And then you can use this to set date. So that's an A/B test that we run in the past. We ran it last year, actually, in February. We ran it between February and May. And what we do at StuDocu is that every A/B test we run, we're going to track it as a new property on the event. So in that case, it was called test follow copy because we changed the copy. So you can see here the two variants. So follow was the control variant. So in Mixpanel, you can also set the control variant like that. And it's computing automatically the statistical significance, which is very important for A/B testing and knowing when an A/B test is basically ripe or easy to or ready to be finished. And here you can look at your funnel. So you can see how many people entered the funnel, how many people took the and how many people took the next actions. So here, what you can see first is that not more users ended up clicking on the button here necessarily, that button that I showed here, but they made the connection way more easily that this was their courses, because you can see that we improved the conversion quite a bit here on the last step. So that's something you can do with Mixpanel. So this is just a copy change, so it's something you could do with an A/B test website such as Optimizely. But we use Mixpanel for custom implementation and Mixpanel because it gives us way more control and it's way more powerful, and you're gonna see that in the next example. So what we also did at StuDocu in the past, in 2020, is experimenting with the recommendation algorithm that we're running to show recommendations to the user, which are here. And this is key for us, for users to discover new content. So I'm going to open a new tab to show you that. So here we're looking at the dashboard. So it's the dashboard view. And then we want to see if users actually click on the recommendations. And here you can see that you can pull any report within a few clicks, really. It's really easy and anybody can do it, which is super convenient. When you compare to querying your database with SQL, for instance, it's way more easier. And yeah, everything is made easy by Mixpanel. So here we're looking at dashboard view, and then clicking on the recommendation, and then actually reading that document. Here I'm gonna look at just one session and total. So the difference, so unique is gonna count users who enter the funnel just once, and total is gonna count one user several times if they do that, if they enter that funnel several times. That's an A/B test that we ran last September, and we ended it early November. Oh, sorry. And that test was called test dashboard recommendations. All right, and here you have the control variant, which in that case is called control, and the improved variant, which is called improved. We also have an undefined group. It's users who don't see recommendations at all because they didn't take the actions that are necessary for the recommendation algorithm to run. You can filter that out if you want very easily in there, but I'm not going to do it because it's fine. We can just look at the control and improved. So you can see two things here. First, in the new variant, which is called improved, we managed to improve quite a lot the conversion to clicking on one of these recommendations without decreasing too much the conversion to document read. So overall, the conversion is quite improved, and we use a tool called Effin Amazing that lets us see how much the improvement is. You can also compute it by head, but here I'm going to show you how we do it. So this is the number of people who entered the funnel in the control variant, the number of people who completed the funnel in the control variant, and now in the new variant. 379, 329. So here you see that in a few clicks and with just Mixpanel and that small tool, we managed to see that in the new variant of our A/B test, we managed to improve the funnel by 17%, which is a huge improvement. So that's a big win. And that's basically what we do for every A/B test. And again, remember that if your new variant is not performing better and it's performing worse, it's always a learning. And then Mixpanel will help you with digging into the data and understanding why actually your A/B test is not successful. So you will always learn when running A/B tests. A few other things that we use is the Insights tab. And basically you can understand that we managed to improve that conversion because in the improved variant, we're actually showing recommendations to way more people. And you can see that quickly here as well. So I'm gonna look at dashboard views. And I'm gonna make sure that users have recommendations. I'm gonna set the date again. It was from September until November. Remember that A/B tests in our case run on 50% of the users. We have our own backend implementation to assign a random variant. And here you're gonna see that even if it was a 50-50 split, in the new variant, way more we have more users seeing recommendations. So 580K against 480K. I'm just showing a bit of what you can do with that Insights tab, but you can see again that within a few clicks, you can do a lot of things in Mixpanel. The last thing I want to show you is the retention tool. There are other tools that you can dig in that are also super helpful, but the retention one is also very nice. So you can look at users who saw the dashboard and came back in the next days again to the dashboard. And I'm gonna show you that again for the same A/B test. So that was again this. And something to keep in mind is that now I'm doing all of that manually to show you, but you can very easily save those reports or share the links, and then you can keep them in a safe space to keep looking at them. So as soon as your A/B test is out, you make a few links, a few reports, a few funnels, you paste them somewhere, and then every day, every 2 days, or every week, you go back to see if, how it's behaving. And yeah, that's super helpful. So here you can see dashboard, going to the dashboard and coming back to the dashboard. I'm gonna use again that test. And here you can see the conversion. So you shouldn't, so here in that case, I'm actually gonna filter out people who are not in the test and cannot see recommendations. And here you can see that in that case, so you can see people who triggered dashboard view and then came back on the same day, after the day 1, after day 2, after day 3, etc., etc. So you can see here it's a very simple example, but you can see users who come back to the dashboard, and you can see that in the improved variant is the same. We managed to improve the retention by just a bit, not a lot, but just a bit. But because the other funnel that I showed you was so successful, this test was clearly a success. And then you can also dig into actually by dates. If you have a seasonality on your platform, you can dive deeper into those metrics. So those are the things you can do in Mixpanel. I didn't have a lot of time right now. It's just 15 minutes, but you can see that just within 15 minutes, you can very quickly, dive into the data, into how your product is behaving, how users are behaving on your platform. And actually you end up learning about how users are behaving on your platform. You realize sometimes that you don't necessarily know how they use your platform, and Mixpanel is a great tool for that. And last thing I want to mention is that the support of Mixpanel is really helpful. It's a great tool to use. The experience overall is really nice, and they keep improving it all the time. Yeah, so that's about it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Killian. And thank you, Glenn, for the presentation. So with that, we'd love to do a bit of Q&A with the audience. If you'd like to use that Q&A feature or the chat feature and submit your questions for Glenn and Killian. while those questions start rolling in, I'm going to put in the chat a survey for some feedback on the session today. It should take you about 30 seconds, and we would love any feedback that you can give. Also on the screen here, you see the email addresses for both Killian and Glenn. So if you want to continue the conversation, outside of this session, please do feel free to reach out. Also on LinkedIn, we'd love to keep the conversation going. So again, use that Q&A feature to start submitting. And the first question that we have from Sandrine is, can it gather data from the past before we had implemented the solution, like heat, for example? So Glenn, I think I'll pose that question to you here.
Yeah, because here we at StuDocu we've used Mixpanel since the very beginning, so we've never run into this issue.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute actually. I have tested Heap in the past, and I know that what they do is, if I'm correct, like some sort of a low code platform or a no code platform where it's a tag and you automatically get some stuff in. With Mixpanel, basically you need to deploy the events, otherwise it's not gonna work. However, I think there is an option to actually hook up previous data as some sort of a dashboarding tool, where if you have data, for instance, from log files, you could hook it up to Mixpanel and use Mixpanel as your dashboarding tool and your QA engine in order to get those insights out in the meantime that you're awaiting a new implementation. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Thank you. And Sandrine, if you have any further questions, I will be following up again after this with a recording and my email, and I'd be happy to connect you for further if that, I think it might be a very custom question, so we can answer it directly. We have another question for Killian this time. Can you please elaborate a bit more on your AB custom setup without tools? Do you rely on GA or any other implementation tool?
No, we rely exclusively on Mixpanel. Well, we don't rely on Mixpanel. We use Mixpanel to just track events and track our A/B tests. But our setup basically is, in our backend, we assign random variants to our users, and we make sure to persist those variants in the session. So when they come back later, they have still the same variants. And then we're just gonna track the variant on an event level. We don't rely on any other tool. We actually have a Trello board where we monitor all of our A/B tests, so we can see at a glance which A/B tests are running on which page. And recently we also made an A/B test tool. So if you go on our website, on our VPN, you can see all the A/B tests are running on each page, which variants they are, and you can play with them. I hope that answers the question.
Great. I think, Killian, this question is also going to you. How do you manage different A/B tests on the same tool for a small cohort of users from both the technical and the product sides?
So at StuDocu, we have a lot of traffic. So it's very rare that we run A/B tests on small cohort of users, but it does happen. And then it takes way more time for the results to be significant because you have less traffic, of course. Something about the technical and product side is that because product analytics and A/B testing is so much part of the culture, when we come up with our key results for each quarter, you have both product managers, product people, and developers that are involved together that are gonna write specs, refine the specs, come up with new events, naming the test. So everybody's involved in that sense, and the communication is super transparent. But yeah, we mainly run A/B tests on very big cohort of users at StuDocu.
Great, thank you. All right, Glenn, this one is for you. Mixpanel looks intimidating at first. Killian makes it look so easy, doesn't he, guys? So what basic first steps would you recommend to get started to set up product and marketing analytics?
I think having a conversation, if you're looking into different teams, you would have a chat with the marketing team, understanding what's their KPI they're looking at and what are they being evaluated on. And then you have product analytics and understanding from a business point of view, what do you want users to do? What is valuable? What is not valuable? I'm not always in favor of tracking everything. I'm more interested in tracking what is the outcome that you want users to reach. Is it the sign up, completing the sign up, or is it like checking the tiny button that you want them to check? From a product analytics perspective specifically, I think the first step is to have the conversation on having a good understanding, what is the product, what do you want the user to do, what are different entry points, what are the features that a user can use, and how do you look at it from a product point of view, from a product team? How are you building the product? What are you trying to achieve, and what are the insights or the key components you're developing? From there, translate it into a tracking plan and do that incrementally. Don't go for an insane micro tracking plan with 115 events, but start with the core components and start gathering some insights on what you want to achieve. For me, the most important thing is like Killian said, that it becomes part of your culture, because what you want to do is you don't want to have a dead implementation. You don't want to have one good setup that kind of gets forgotten. What you want is to have a setup that actually somebody is constantly analyzing and understanding what is going on, surfacing those insights, thinking of a hypothesis. Well, probably this is going wrong or this is working well. Turn that into an A/B test, like Killian said, evaluating that A/B test, and based on that A/B test, put it in a production backlog, building it into a sprint. But also very important, making sure that the sprints that you build for development, that you have enough sprint points left to have implementation of Mixpanel and product analytics ready to deploy it on every new feature that you get. Because otherwise you're having this state-of-the-art implementation that you start with, but as your product progresses, then basically you're losing the tracking for those new features, and you're getting blind spots, and you're actually losing the tracking. I think those are the most important elements.
So if I can complement on that, to keep track of all your metrics, you have a super powerful dashboard tool as well in Mixpanel that you can use. And second, for the future, so what you said about having a good tracking plan and keep iterating on it and having more events as you introduce more features. As StuDocu, it's quite easy. As soon as we introduce a new feature, in the same spec, we're going to ask the developer to implement the tracking as well. So we never have new features that are untracked. So we are always able to know how users are using those features.
There's one question, if I may, Charlie, because it's kind of the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
What is the difference between Mixpanel and GA4? I think that what GA4 did or Google did with the release of GA4 is they're trying to find the middle ground between marketing and product. The challenge they have is that it's not production ready. I was at Measure Camp Europe last week, and a large majority of the sessions was on how do I surface insights. One of the sessions was actually titled GA4 is not production ready. So yes, they moved over to an event-based measurement model, but the advantage that I think with Mixpanel is that it's very easy to surface the insights. Everybody basically can do it. The reports are very intuitive because you're having this query engine, like Killian showed you. You don't have a lot of specific reports, but you have a very easy way of getting the insights or the answers that you need. And I think that's the most important thing. And also, if you want to customize further in GA4 even, you would need more data layer work, which means you go through releases. And at that point, it comes down to which tool will get you the best insights. And at this point, for me, it's clearly Mixpanel. Does that answer the question? I hope it kind of tackles the elephant that's out there.
It's a big elephant, so thank you for tackling it. And again, everyone, please do feel free to reach out to us directly. We have a couple minutes left, and I know that some of these topics require much more than 5 minutes. So I'm going to pose just the last question here. Glenn, Killian, I think you both probably have a perspective on this, so I'd love to hear. So from Marguerite, our startup is currently outsourcing marketing analytics, and currently we do not have product analytics. We want to implement both in-house now. Do you have any suggestions on how to go about it, and can one person handle both? Glenn, maybe you get us started, and then Killian, I think you've got a great perspective from your own personal experience.
The thing is, for me, even though the challenge with companies today for me is that even if you're a customer, you have one customer journey, right? But you're engaging with different departments within your company. And one point it will be sales, one it will be customer support, it will be marketing, it will be product. And as a customer, my dream is that from a Human 37 perspective, we want to align everybody in an organization, also from an experience point of view, from a data point of view, that the customer no longer feels when he or she is switching from department. So as well, it means that you don't want to feel that somebody switches from marketing into product, right, when they're engaging with those teams. However, I think today it's very hard. How I believe that will change towards the future, and that's the advantage I think that the startups have. Yes, in the beginning, you can combine marketing and product. And that's actually super interesting because in the end, it's about the customer journey. And so thinking about it, not in terms of departments, but from the customer is central, and therefore we need to arrange around the customer and not specifically around departments, is something that is very easy when you're a startup, because there's a little amount of people that are able to do that, right? But as you grow, I think that there will be a marketing department, there will be a product department, but it's all about the process, making sure that both of them think about the customer and the stage that a customer is in their customer lifetime cycle, and making sure that they are aligned to make sure that the continuation of the experience is consistent. And so that's kind of how I look at things. I think in a startup, yes, somebody can definitely do both. And actually, it would be beneficial because you understand how the journey goes through the different phases. If you grow, I think you'll need more people, each focusing on a specific part, because marketing, analytics, and setting budgets and managing marketing plans and budgets and ROI effectiveness in that field requires a specific focus. It's a job on its own, and it requires expertise. Just like Killian is very deep in product analytics, and he has expertise that is contributing a lot in that in his context. However, I do think that there should be a bridge built between both to ensure the continuation of both elements.
Killian, I'm curious if you have anything to add as somebody who wears a lot of hats yourself.
I think the answer of Glenn was pretty complete. I tried to answer also some of the questions, but yeah, if you have more questions, feel free to reach me out as well by email.
Great,
because I see
thank
that
you.
there are quite some questions.
Yeah, there's a number of questions left. So for those who we didn't answer live, we will follow up directly to answer your question. You're also welcome to get in touch directly. And like I mentioned, I'll be sharing this recording within 24 hours, along with a few other resources that were referenced throughout the session or will be complimentary. And so with that, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you for everyone who attended, and thank you, Glenn and Killian, for your time and your insights. It was really, really interesting to hear.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and we hope to talk soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.